Singapore Company vs US LLC for foreign founders. You're choosing wrong, and here's the 2026 breakdown that fixes it. Here's the problem. Most founders pick based on setup cost alone. Singapore Pte Ltd requires local director and audited accounts. US LLC needs neither in 47 states. US LLC costs $249 in Wyoming with zero compliance first year. Singapore starts at $2,800 with mandatory audits. Both jurisdictions work for foreign founders in 2026, but they solve different problems. Singapore gives you instant credibility with Asian banks and clients, zero tax on foreign income if structured right, but you pay $2,800 to $3,500 first year including nominee director, registered office, company secretary, and mandatory audit filing even at zero revenue. US LLC in Wyoming or Delaware costs $249 all in, zero audit requirement, and you only file taxes if you earn US-sourced income. This is exactly why we built Bastion Formations, to help founders pick the structure that matches their actual business model, not the one that sounds impressive. Most people fail here. They see Singapore's 0% foreign income tax and assume that's the winner. But Singapore only exempts foreign income if you never bring a dollar onshore and never hire locally. The moment you open a Singapore bank account and pay yourself a salary, you're filing corporate tax at 17%, plus mandatory CPF contributions, plus annual audit. A US LLC with a WISE account and Stripe lets you keep 100% of revenue outside the US with zero audit, zero payroll tax, and you only file when you choose to take a US distribution. Do not assume low corporate tax means low total cost. Step 2 for most foreign founders selling digital products or services globally is open a US LLC in Wyoming through Bastion Formations for $249. That price includes formation, EIN registration, so you can open Stripe and WISE, and registered agent service for year 1. Filing time is 1 to 3 business days. You get your own registered agent dashboard on day 1 with mail scanning and forwarding on demand. Zero Delaware franchise tax, zero Wyoming income tax, zero audit requirement. If you never step foot in the US and never hire US employees, your only annual cost is the $99 registered agent renewal. Step 3 is choose Singapore only if you need one of 3 things. 1. You're raising venture capital from Southeast Asian VCs who require a local entity. 2. You're applying for Singapore bank accounts because your payment processor demands a licensed bank, not an EMI. 3. You're hiring Singapore employees and need CPF compliance. This is important. If none of those 3 apply, the $2,800 Singapore setup plus $1,800 annual audit is dead capital. Bastion Formations does both, Wyoming LLC for $249 and Singapore Pte Ltd from $2,800 with nominee director and secretary included, so you can start lean in Wyoming and flip to Singapore later when revenue justifies the cost. Here's the problem most comparison guides miss. They compare sticker prices, $249 versus $2,800, and declare the US cheaper. But they ignore banking access. Some foreign founders can't open WISE or Mercury because their passport country is blocked. Southeast Asian e-commerce platforms like Shopee and Lazada require Singapore registration, and US payment processors sometimes freeze accounts from pure Wyoming LLCs with zero US presence. The real question is not which is cheaper, it's which one your bank and your customers accept. If you're locked out of US EMIs and need a real Singapore bank account, the $2,800 is the price of doing business. Here's the exact decision tree you can copy-paste. If your customers are in Asia and you need local invoicing credibility, go Singapore. If you're selling SaaS, info products, consulting, or freelancing globally and your payment processor accepts US entities, go Wyoming LLC. If you're raising a seed round from a Singapore VC, they'll require Singapore incorporation as a funding condition, so start there. If you're a solo founder testing an idea, with under $50,000 revenue target year 1, Wyoming saves you $2,500 in compliance costs you can spend on ads instead. Once you hit $200,000 revenue or hire your first employee, revisit the structure. Bastion Formations handles both formations. You can start with Wyoming for $249 and we'll migrate you to Singapore when the business case makes sense. No need to DIY the second entity. Ask your payment processor this exact question before you decide. Do you accept US LLCs owned by non-US residents with a Wyoming registered agent and EIN? Or do you require a company registered in my home country or Singapore? If they say yes to the US LLC, you just saved $2,500. If they say no, book the Singapore formation. Wyoming LLC, $249, 0 audit, 1 to 3 day filing. Singapore Pte Ltd, $2,800 setup, $1,800 annual audit, needs local director. Pick based on bank and customer requirements, not just tax rate. If this helped, smash like, hit subscribe, and visit Bastion Formations at bastionformations.com to set up your US LLC or Singapore Pte Ltd today. Visit https://bastionformations.com.